race was a big deal in America for hundreds of years. I mean, from 1620 to 1960, the idea of American was a European. Our beliefs about race and nationality are entirely analogous with such presidents as George Washington, Thomas Jefferson.
Donald Trump is saying he's going to cause mass deportations, which sounds a lot like what the Nazis did, and it's absolutely horrifying.
Do I fixate on it? It's part of American culture. It's part of our traditional model of government. A republic will not work in an international context.
I am so disappointed in America. Y'all have no freaking idea. I cannot believe that people chose racism, misogyny, misogynoir, greed, and stupidity over common sense.
See, actually, just being born in America doesn't make you an American.
Yo, guys, cold as fuck out here. It's below zero, and we had to take a quick break because my lips wouldn't move properly for the commentary. We've been at the march. We're heading back over. If you want to grab this shot of the Trump Tower. Again, for context, it's Inauguration Day. President Trump was inaugurated maybe an hour ago officially during the ceremony. But again, we've got our guys in New York City, Washington, D.C., and Chicago because we're covering the opposition movement to Trump. And some of the big themes this morning from the protesters are issues with Trump's immigration policy.
Representing immigrant rights across the city and across the state so that we protect the rights of our immigrant communities here in Chicago, proud to be a sanctuary city for the generations to come.
Which we know is going to cause some contention in Chicago's local politics. So there were calls to protect immigrants, stop Trump's immigration bills and actions that he's talked very loudly about taking. And then you had a pretty diverse set of speakers and activists speaking this morning, just giving their perspective on how they feel about the incoming Trump administration and the potential threat that it poses to undocumented immigrants in Chicago. It's kind of moved away from the focus on Kamala Harris, and the focus for this movement is definitely to stop the Trump agenda. And you can kind of see like these are the core initiatives right here for the protests that we're coming up to. Defend and expand immigrant rights, stand with Palestine, end U.S. aid to Israel, stop police crimes, defend LGBTQIA+ and reproductive rights, defend workers' rights to unionize and strike, defund education and academic freedom. It's a core leftist movement. And really this infrastructure didn't even spin up until October 7th, and we're pulling up on it right now. We're coming up to Wacker Street.
At this point, it was probably -7 degrees. So I was surprised that 2,500 people showed up and also marched to the Trump Tower during the inauguration. It's a pretty cohesive vibe. There was a blend of Muslim, Palestinian, and Latino interests that converged, and their message changed quite a bit since the march on the DNC, where now it's much more focused on opposition to Donald Trump. Now, there's no way that we can bring great protest coverage without bringing our coverage through multiple cities. New York is a different beast in and of itself because it holds the highest concentration of people in North America, but also the highest concentration of protest, civil unrest, and riots in the nation, right here in New York City.
They would love this. They would love you guys.
What you're seeing here is what's called the heckler's veto. This is a situation in which a party who disagrees with a speaker's message is able to unilaterally trigger events that result in the speaker being silenced. Now, some people, planned or unplanned, show up to protest with the sole intent of being disruptive and increasing tensions.
This guy just hit me and took my flag. He just attacked me, took my flag. You attacked me. I was standing there, he attacked me. You attacked me. He's got the video.
He's a fucking provocateur. He's here to pick fights. You're a fucking provocateur. You're a Zionist fucking provocateur asshole. That's what you are.
Because I was standing here. Right, I was standing here.
Arrest him! Arrest him! Arrest him! Arrest this provocateur asshole.
The protest environment in Washington, D.C. is completely unique in the United States because what you have is the central or federal government, and they're located in this area we know as the District of Columbia. On Inauguration Day, you had a combination of pro-Trump support and celebration, but then you also had anti-Trump opposition broadly. Our camera crew in Washington, D.C. got several interviews with people from the January 6 riots back in 2021. So you'll hear from some of the leadership of organizations like the Oath Keepers.
What he's doing is respecting the presumption of innocence, respecting our rights. If you want to blame somebody for letting us out, you blame the DOJ for not having fair trials. That's who's responsible for that.
You were accused of sedition, trying to stop the peaceful transfer of power. Do you have any regrets for that?
For being accused of it? Well, of course. It's a horrible
You were
thing.
convicted of it too.
Right, but I did not do that. So no. I was innocent, entirely innocent. Like I told the judge in my sentencing, I said, like President Trump, I'm only guilty of opposing those who are destroying our country. That's what I told him. What I mean by that is I believe that the election of 2020 was unconstitutional and illegal. It violated multiple state election laws.
But does that justify breaking into the Capitol?
Didn't say it did, but I didn't break into the Capitol. I stood outside. I stood outside, exercised my free speech. I didn't even go inside.
You were accused of working with Oath Keepers, creating a plan.
Right, and that was
to execute.
And that was a bunch of nonsense, a bunch of garbage. It was designed to prevent President Trump from being able to run for office again. And so the whole thing was a protest and turn it into an insurrection, but to magnify it, make it look like something it really wasn't, and then attach that to President Trump.
So we have heard some calls for a version of January 6th that's led by Democrats. We're not sure how significant those calls are, but here is an example.
I wonder when we'll storm the Capitol. When will we have enough? You know, like I love to come out and protest in March, but when will we actually do something that's going to be meaningful and show that we're really going to resist? What line will he cross where we actually rise up and take our government back?
Has that, in your opinion, has Trump already crossed that line?
Way too many times. Way too many times. I'm not saying storming the Capitol was effective or that it would be effective, but I feel like at some point in time we have to take our democracy back in a real way. We have to show up in a tangible way.
Fair enough. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
This is what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks
Some
like!
protest organizations are larger than others, and some are considered acceptable by the broader public than others. Now, you're about to see an interview with the leader of a group called the Patriot Front. But remember, the Patriot Front fractured out of a group called Vanguard America. And Vanguard America made its way into the public knowledge and history books as a white supremacist organization that was one of the key organizers of what turned into the Charlottesville riots. And one of the Vanguard America members, as you remember, drove their car into a crowd of protesters that were opposing them and unfortunately killed a woman. Now, this young leader here of the Patriot Front is going to describe his vision of America and his ideal state. And what he's going to do is he's basically going to cite very discrete snippets of political thought and then kind of spin them into his own justification for his type of politics.
Every few years somebody comes out and says, oh, Patriot Front's been destroyed, everything's been toppled, they're never going to come around again, but apparently they never ask me about it because it never seems to happen.
Does the Trump presidency change anything for you guys?
Not necessarily. We organize beyond the conventional electoral process. Some of the things that Trump's doing are interesting and they could be compelling if they continue. But at the same time, I'm very skeptical to politicians, as my station indicates. And I think ultimately you can't rely on change coming from the top down in every instance. You know, sure, a good statesman can do things here and there that might make a positive impact on the country, but the rot is the issue is much deeper. People need to reorganize their lives, virtues, convictions.
Flyer, check out what we're all about.
Race was a big deal in America for hundreds of years. I mean, from 1620 to 1960, the idea of American was a European. Our beliefs about race and nationality are entirely analogous with such presidents as George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, all of Mount Rushmore, actually. Theodore Roosevelt thought very similar to us about race and nationality, the traditional culture of Anglo-Saxon America. So you're asking me, do I fixate on it? It's part of American culture. It's part of our traditional model of government. A republic will not work in an international context.
So do you essentially endorse the left hyper-focusing on race the same way you do then?
I endorse
critical race theories, like
I endorse race being understood as a real factor of human society. I do not believe we should ignore race and stick our heads in the sand and hope it goes away. Thomas Ryan Russo, nice to meet you.
Clearly, the politics he's expressing are untenable, but in the type of democracy that we live in, pretty much free to express your politics, even if your politics are out of date, hateful, or even ignorant.
I don't like the FBI. I think it's a largely illegitimate branch of law enforcement. And Kash Patel is probably, I'm not really familiar with his background. He is Indian, though. I don't think Indians should be in charge of any of the departments of government of the United States. So there you go. Because he's a foreign. Pretty sure
he's not a foreigner. He's born in America.
Yeah, but he's Indian. Plenty of people are foreigners born in America.
What about your ancestors?
They're American.
Yeah.
Yes.
Born
correct.
in America.
Yes.
But where'd they come from originally?
See, actually, just being born in America doesn't make you an American.
Born in America to second generation. That's
still, yeah.
If your parents are naturalized citizens and you're born in America, you're still
see,
not
being
American.
a citizen doesn't make you American either. It's a natural thing.
What's natural about being an American citizen?
Well, nationality is a natural thing.
Okay, so my ancestors are half Italian, half Irish.
Yeah.
Do they count?
People of European nationalities, of the European race, can become American. India is not in Europe, though, so they cannot. Because nations are intraracial. Right?
Okay.
So nations are a collective of humanity which exists within racial collectives.
Where does Europe and
So Europe
Slavic states begin? Like, what about Russians? Do they count?
Russia, Eastern or Western Russia is in Europe, yes.
So what about the steppes? Like Iranian, does that count? Does Iranian count as white?
Iran is not in Europe. No, yeah.
Doesn't count as white. What about Turkey?
Turkey is not in Europe either. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about like the Balkans? What about
Balkan countries are in Europe, yes.
Okay. Georgia? How about Georgia?
Georgia is on...
Can Georgians be Americans?
I would say geographically, Europe ends at the Caucasus Mountains. And I believe Georgia is on the right side of the Caucasus Mountains.
What about Muslims who are from Spain?
Muslims who are from Spain. So the organization does not accept Muslims, no matter what their racial or heritage might be.
Okay, so white Muslims not allowed?
No, yes.
You got to check all the identity boxes.
Well, yes, I believe it's a foreign religion.
So your group is based on identity politics?
We recognize identity as a part of the human experience, which is necessary to the proper structuring of government. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sounds like you have something in common with Joy Reid on that.
The issue is that he'll take these snippets that are hundreds of years old and also just ignore the fact that most of the perspectives that he's espousing fell out of favor a long time ago.
I'm out here because I'm concerned about the erosion of checks and balances that Trump poses, given the entire party has fallen in line with him, and I'm more concerned that more than just him, he could erode things in a way closer to Viktor Orban's Hungary, where it's a one-party state, but then it's still, on paper, a democracy. I think this rally is the real first gasp of resistance ever since the election, because everything else has been pretty much despondent. The elites in the Democratic Party had a DNC chair conference where they had people defending corporate donors and not laying out any plan to reconnect with the people that they just lost, that they built their entire coalition on. This is what the coalition is built on, and I wish that somebody in the party would see this and be able to act on it and build on it. There's clearly momentum.
Colombia!
What you've seen is a variation of different political movements and protests. So you've been able to hear the rhetoric, see the signage, listen to the sentiment, and get a taste of some of the movements that were operating on Inauguration Day. If you're interested in more content like this, please subscribe. You can find me on all the popular social channels, and like or comment with your feedback or perspective on what you've just witnessed.